you worked as a quant trading intern at Jane Street. You've done multiple quant trading internships, quant research internships at Polychain. I'm doing more crypto stuff. It seems to me that if you were optimizing for wealth, you could have easily stuck it out at one of these firms rather than, starting your own thing where the variance is extraordinarily high. Especially, you started in 2022. DeFi is not as trendy today as it was a couple of years ago. There's so many macroeconomic factors influencing the business you're in. Tell me, why did you start Kinetic? What problem were you trying to solve? And do you think it's a plus EV decision, I guess, from a wealth perspective?
Yeah, a bunch of thoughts here. One, I would say, optimizing for, EV with your wealth is actually the wrong thing to optimize. You need to be optimizing for log wealth and the sort of like geometric growth rate of your wealth, in which case there's like some, variant, inclusion that needs to, kind of be pulled in. So if someone is actually just doing a pure EV calculation on how much am I going to get paid on my startup or something like that, I think there are treacherous waters. And famously, Fan Bankman-Fried has all these Twitter threads saying, oh, I'm sort of, risk neutral or something like that, instead of, risk averse in these ways. And so I strongly suggest, log well utility. There are all these like, eruditicity guys that are they're talking about this and all that. So that's one piece of the puzzle there. Another piece is there's a meta level learning that I've kind of pulled from reading all these quant biographies and all these things that I kind of really enjoyed as a young person, and even studying the history of Jane Street themselves, right? Like it's no surprise Jane Street was founded, I don't know, 94 or 95 or something like this, right? At the same time that, the S&P 500 was birthed and, ETFs were sort of coming onto the scene for the very first time. And they were able to build expertise in an asset class that was young at the time and that has since, grown many orders of magnitude. And even when I studied the history of, Ed Thorpe or something like that, right? Like he was trading pretty much options. There were warrants sort of at the time, right? And so he was trading this sort of new market structure that hadn't really been explored that well and would continue to grow. He shut down Princeton Newport Partners, but there's firms sort of in his wake that I think there's a big lesson actually in picking an asset class that is sort of in its infancy and really kind of riding that tail wave. And for me, the obvious one is just like every asset is going to get tokenized on chain. I think we're going to have tokenized equities and treasuries and Forex and all these things, and they're going to be tradable on these kind of permissionless blockchain. And the upshot of that is you're going to get a lot of these like very native crypto assets. And so we're building in the Solana ecosystem, our trading platform, which I can, talk about it a little bit. We trade over 1 million tokens on the platform, and, we'll hit 10 million sort of in the blink of an eye in terms of the total number of tokens that we support. And so I just want to ride the wave of, becoming an expert in this particular asset class that I think will, dominate the next few decades.
That's fascinating. I want to hear more about, because obviously there are multiple DEX aggregators. I guess if you could start, just for our audience who might be unfamiliar, what is a DEX aggregator and what specifically do you do at Kinetic?
Yep. Yeah. So Kinetic initially and still is a DEX aggregator on Solana. So there are these three pieces which we can kind of discuss in sequence. So DEX, what does DEX mean? DEX means decentralized exchange, sometimes compared to centralized exchanges, which they say is CEX. Sometimes people say SEX. So DEX and SEX. And in the wake of the FTX explosion, right? We've learned that structuring crypto exchanges in this centralized exchange way can cause a lot of problems. Even though FTX raised all the Sequoia money and all these things, and was kind of the beloved sort of white knight of the crypto ecosystem in some ways, right? Maybe not in other ways. They completely blew up, and that's because users didn't have custody over their own assets. And this is just a fundamental primitive that is necessary, I think, for internet capital market to flourish. And so, we are very excited about this decentralized exchange world. Okay, so the next piece is aggregator. That ties into one of the issues with decentralized exchanges is there are many of these things, right? There are dozens and dozens of these different types of decentralized exchange with different sort of market structures. So you can have a CLOB, like a central limit order book, which is typical of the traditional finance. You can also have this AMM structure called an automated market maker. This would be like Uniswap, if anyone's familiar, or in the Solana ecosystem, there's one called Radium, and there are a number of these. And so we have all these different designs and they're on all these different chains, that causes the liquidity to be fragmented, even if it's for the same asset. Like imagine if you're trading the Ethereum token or something like that. If you just pick one of these particular DEXs, you're only accessing that particular liquidity and not the sort of global set of liquidity. And so imagine if you can instead split your order across a number of these different decentralized exchanges, imagine 10 of them or something like that all at once, you're going to access 10 times the liquidity and, in consequence, get much better slippage on the way out, 5 times better slippage or something like that, depending on how things work. And so that's why DEX aggregation is a very important piece. And the last one is we're on Solana, and Solana was basically just the first time that it really felt like transacting crypto as the pure internet. I mean, there are 400 millisecond block times as compared to Ethereum's 12-second block time. 12 second, you're really sitting around, you're thinking, did I lose my money? Did it disappear? Did I make a mistake or something like that? But in 400 milliseconds on Solana, the time to finality is going down even further. It just feels like, the kind of, blink of an eye is whatever, 150 milliseconds or something like that, right? And so it feels very, snappy and crisp, and it's just been an amazing ecosystem to build in.
What is your long-term vision for Kinetic? What do you want it to be? And I guess before that, do DEXs make money in the same way that centralized exchanges do?
Great questions. So I'll answer that final one, and then I'll answer the kind of like, what is the kind of purpose of Kinetic and what's the kind of grand vision? Firstly, how do these, decentralized exchanges make money? Is it like centralized exchanges? Yes and no. Typically, they will take a trading fee. So if they have not launched a token, in which, most of them have, then they're just kind of taking fees down to, the C Corp or something like that. And that looks a lot like a centralized exchange, but a lot of these do have a token. And so the Uniswap token or the Radium token, what they do is they take 2 or 3 basis points of a trading fee, and then that goes back to, programmatically buy back the Radium token or the Uniswap token. And so instead of like, in equities, you'll have either dividends paid out or share buybacks. It's like this continuous share buyback mechanism, but like frequently for the revenues going to buy back the token. And that kind of produces this nice upward trajectory. But centralized exchanges also make money in very, maybe bespoke and, unsightly ways where they are charging a lot to have your token listed, and they take, I don't want to, name names, but a lot of those guys are taking, 5% of the token supply to list on these kind of major exchanges and these kinds of things and add back deals. And a lot of those guys actually do have their own trading firms, and who knows how they're handling, liquidations of leverage and all these things. And they're definitely seeing the kind of full state of the order book in ways. And if it's centralized, you just don't know how the code is written or how the code is being run. And so there are some very kind of suspicious things that could be happening and probably are happening. But if it's a decentralized exchange, that means that, across 1,000 nodes globally, everyone has to run the exact same software in order to get this kind of global consensus. And so everyone knows the exact microstructure and exactly how everything operates. And so there's just kind of no room for teams to, do anything kind of suspicious like that.